What's going on, guys? Welcome to the video. We are going to take a look at the undemocratic Liberal Femocrat leader Jo Swinson's interview with BBC Breakfast yesterday morning. They was discussing the Ramonin traitors' planned meeting to talk about stopping a no-deal Brexit or Brexit in general. Jo actually backtracks on her earlier statements regarding accepting the decision if a second referendum was called and vote leave won yet again. Personally, I think she's talking crap. She would just claim something else wasn't on the ballot paper, so people did not vote for it, and demand a third referendum. Now, as we know, only about 160 MPs signed up to what they want to do, so it's not even enough to do anything in Parliament realistically. But let's check out what she had to say.
Is about that meeting due to take place in just 2.5 hours time. This is a gathering of the opposition party leaders to talk about how to stop a no-deal Brexit.
Yes, so this gathering has been arranged by Jeremy Corbyn. Not everyone supports the proposals, which would see him installed as one of the options as caretaker Prime Minister. Let's speak to the leader of the Liberal Democrats, Jo Swinson, who joins us now. Morning to you. Thanks very much for joining us.
Good morning. Good to be with you.
What do you want out of today's meeting?
I want us to be able to have confidence that we can stop the catastrophe of a no-deal Brexit. As Liberal Democrat leader, we've been very clear and campaigning for 3 years or more now to stop Brexit altogether. And obviously the immediate crisis we face is crashing out without a deal. So I want us to be able to stop that. And I'm putting forward a triple lock of 3 potential actions that could make sure that that is a reality. I think the first and most important thing is that we agree that we should pass legislation to require the government to extend Article 50. I'd like that to be for the purpose of holding a people's vote. Secondly, if we end up in the scenario of a vote of no confidence and a general election, it's hugely important that there is agreement that such an election would give the people, the public, the chance to choose, and therefore it would have to be either before the 31st of October or come with an extension to Article 50. And then finally, if we are on the verge of crashing out without a deal and all else has failed, we need to be prepared to revoke Article 50, because in 2019 we should not have the situation where British government policy leads to food and medicine shortages.
Well, she wastes no time telling us that they need to stop the catastrophe that is a no-deal Brexit, and how she wants to ignore the largest democratic vote in the UK's history because bollocks to what people voted for. Jo thinks she knows better than all us simpletons who voted to leave. The arrogance of this woman is incredible. She claims to have 3 potential actions that could stop a no-deal Brexit, with the aim of first forcing the government to extend Article 50 again in order to have a people's vote, because apparently we never had a people's vote in 2016. I would love to know what the first referendum was if she claims the second one is the people's vote. To even hold a second referendum is undemocratic. The country made its choice, it should be respected. Her second plan is to use a general election as a way for the public to choose what should happen, once again completely ignoring the fact 17.4 million people told them what to do, and the 498 MPs in Parliament set out the terms on which they deliver that instruction. They voted for no deal. Well, probably not Jo, but the parliamentary democracy, as they call it, set out the terms. So I'm not sure what else Jo needs to understand what democracy is saying to her. But the third and final plan Jo has is the most ridiculous of all. She thinks if the UK is about to leave the EU on the terms set out by Parliament, which states we leave on WTO terms come Halloween, then these traitorous scumbags would revoke Article 50. This has to be the most ridiculous thing I have ever heard. The people spoke, the MPs passed laws to honour that decision, and now some of them want to betray us by going back on what they voted for and keeping us in the EU. Her excuse for this nonsense is the Yellowhammer bullshit about food and medicine. That is the best reason she could come up with to justify wiping her gonorrhea-infested clam with a democratic vote to leave the EU. Not because the public wants to stay in the EU, it's because a year-old, outdated report said something might happen in the absolute worst-case scenario. You are sounding really desperate now, Jo. That report was commissioned by a biased fucking government made by a biased civil service. It holds no credibility with anyone except Ramonas. Let's move on to the next clip.
OK, so you're very clear about your party's message. Let's talk about, you talk about the various different ways of getting it. Let's talk about if there were to be, and we talked to Keir Starmer, and this is not necessarily what you all might agree, if there were to be a vote of no confidence, you've been quite clear that you wouldn't necessarily support Jeremy Corbyn leading that.
Well, I think we are less likely to win a vote of no confidence if the suggestion is that it will result in Jeremy Corbyn becoming Prime Minister. And that's just from looking at the publicly available stated positions of several opposition MPs, from Anna Soubry and Change UK to Heidi Allen or Nick Bowles or Ian Austin, who have said they couldn't support Jeremy Corbyn as Prime Minister. And of course, you would then need for Conservative MPs to vote for that. So basically, I think that proposal makes it less likely that we would succeed in achieving a vote of no confidence.
He is the leader of the opposition, isn't he?
He is, and so he would need to bring forward that vote of no confidence. And if he is serious, as he says he is, about stopping no deal and the legislative approach that I've outlined, which I think is the best way of doing it, if that doesn't work and we end up in the scenario of vote of no confidence, then I hope that if he is genuine in his view that that's what he wants to do and that this is about stopping no deal, that he will table that vote of no confidence and recognise that such an emergency government would need to be led by somebody who commanded genuine support across the House.
The host points out the dysfunctional Ramona squabbling over who will lead this undemocratic government if the traitors manage to oust Boris with a vote of no confidence in his government. As we all know, Jo Swinson won't back Commissar Corbyn off to be the leader, and the Commissar is not likely to allow anyone else to take his place. This is the exact reason why there has not been a no confidence vote already. Jeremy Corbyn knows that the only way he can win a no confidence vote is if he uses no deal fear to get the backing. So he is forced to wait until the bitter end, when the fear is at its highest point, to actually come along and do something. Otherwise, he knows it is going to fail. It's not going to pass through if Tory MPs are not shit scared of no deal. At the moment, they're not. He needs to push it a bit further. But I still think it's going to fail anyway. The host points out to Jo that Corbyn is the leader of the opposition, making him the person in line to take over if this no confidence vote was to succeed. Which is great news for us because even the Remainers hate him. We all know Jo wants to lead this government herself, since she will never win a majority as a Liberal Femocrat. They sit third in the polls and have only got 14 MPs. How does this woman even get to talk like her party is supported by a lot of people? Let's be honest here. The Liberal Democrats have been around for 30 years or more and have a membership of around 115,000. The Brexit Party gained that many paid supporters in a couple of months. They are not widely supported by the general public, as 14 MPs show. So why her opinion is even taken is beyond me. Let's move on to the next clip.
What strikes me listening to you and listening to Keir Starmer is, well, you tell me from your point of view, what is the chance of reaching agreement? You've got so many people in that room today with very differing views. How are you going to reach an agreement?
Well, optimism is in the news today, and I do come at this with a view that is positive, that we can reach agreement because Brexit can be stopped. We do not need to settle for this damaging path for our country. And frankly, whether it's a Labour or a Conservative Brexit, the result is the same. It will be bad for our country. So I welcome the opportunity to talk with others on the opposition benches, and we need to talk with those on the Conservative benches who are very concerned about no deal as well.
So Jo thinks Brexit can be stopped because she does not want it. No mention of the 17.4 million people who voted for it. All she cares about is what she wants. How someone from a party called the Liberal Democrats can sit there and openly try to ignore a democratic vote because she does not like it, saying this shit on national TV with a straight face, is a testament to the fact I have known for a long time now. We don't have democracy in the UK. We have the illusion of democracy that is now failing because none of these MPs actually expected the country to vote leave in the EU referendum. Brexit is forcing them to do what we want, which is something they have never had to do before. For decades, politicians have only served themselves and others in the same circles, like their EU cronies they have all sold us out to. But luckily, only 160 MPs signed up to Jo Swinson's plans to block no deal, so she is miles off the numbers required to actually pull off what she wants. I would say it's an epic failure at this point. Let's check out the final clip.
You are clear, you're very clear about your position, but what do you say to those people who don't want Brexit stopped?
Well, I understand that there are differences of opinion, but what I would say is that if we are to go down the route of a specific Brexit path, whether that's a no-deal Brexit that wasn't on the ballot paper in 2016, that there is no democratic mandate for, or whether it is the Brexit deal which Theresa May negotiated or something else which Boris Johnson negotiates, we need to have confidence that genuinely commands majority support in the country, given how high the stakes are. And that's why I've been clear, and the Liberal Democrats have been clear, is that should be put to the people to decide in a people's vote.
And if people voted again, saying they did want to leave and we don't know what the deal would be, you would support that?
Well, if they voted for a specific Brexit deal, I would at least have confidence that that is what was the majority view of the country and that they had had the chance to vote to remain. I'm not going to suddenly change my view, my belief that we're going to be better off as members of the European Union. Of course, I'm not going to suddenly change that any more than, I would suddenly believe if, in 2005 when I first got elected and Labour won the general election, I didn't stop thinking that the Liberal Democrats had the right policies and start thinking that suddenly Labour was right. So, I'm not going to change my beliefs, but I would at least have confidence that the public genuinely wanted that path. At the moment, I have no confidence that there is a majority in this country for any specific form of Brexit, whether that is the undemocratic no-deal Brexit or whether that is Theresa May's Brexit deal or any other.
Jo Swinson, thank you for your opinions here on Breakfast this morning. Thank you.
Since Jo did not bother speaking about the people who actually want Brexit to happen, the host asked her about what they want, and her response was as pathetic as you would expect. She understands there are differences of opinion, but she really does not care. Is she actually for real? Yes, people have differences of opinion, but when the majority instruct politicians to do something like leaving the EU, then their opinion is all that matters. How can you disregard what the majority wants because you want something else? How is that democratic, Jo? She goes back to the same stupid shit that a no-deal Brexit wasn't on the ballot paper, which is correct, but neither was us having to leave with a deal, so that argument does not fly anymore. Her claim there is no democratic mandate for no deal is complete bullshit though. As we know, the MPs knew a no-deal Brexit was on the cards before the referendum, and Ramonas like Dominic Grieve and Philip Hammond pointed out Article 50 means, if we don't get a deal, we leave with no deal after 2 years. The 498 MPs voting to pass that law gave it a democratic mandate because the 17.4 million Leave voters instructed the government to get us out. So it's yet more outright lies by these Ramonin spunk trumpets that is not challenged by the biased Broadcasting Corporation at all. Jo said we need to have confidence Brexit is what the people voted for. In her reality, did the 2016 referendum never happen or what? That vote was the biggest in the UK's history. I would say it's the most confident the country has ever been when it comes to a political decision, you idiot. The stupidity of this woman actually hurts my brain. If the 2016 referendum was 99% to leave with her the only Remain voter, she would still claim she is not confident it's what the country wants. She will never be in power, so I really don't see what her actual aim is here. The Lib Fems have about as much chance at forming a government as the monster raving loony party does. The host asked her if Leave won again would she accept it, again saying she would, but still believes staying in the EU would be better. Well, Jo, that is the wonders of freedom of speech. You can have that view and I will defend you having that view. But trying to stop Brexit is not just a view, it's an anti-democratic move you have no mandate to do and is a slap in the face to the people of this country. You heard her claim at the end of that clip that a no-deal Brexit is undemocratic. Of course forgetting what I have said already in this video and multiple times before. 498 MPs democratically voted in Parliament to invoke Article 50. And by extension, a no-deal Brexit. So it's about as democratic as it gets in the eyes of Parliament. At least the BBC host thanked Jo for her opinions, since nothing she said is based on fact. But she should have called her out on her bullshit on at least a few occasions. As we know though, the BBC don't interrupt Ramonas, they only interrupt Brexiteers and call them liars. Well, I'm going to end the video there, guys, anyway. I just want to thank the channel's PayPal, Patreon and Subscribestar members for supporting the channel, along with everyone who watches my videos. Remember to let me know what you think about Jo Swinson's claims that a no-deal Brexit is not democratic down in the comments section below. Leave a like, subscribe with the notification bell and share this video as it helps the channel a lot. And I will see you all in the next one.